MAGA has lost its reflecting pool of a mind. That's the title of the live today. The reflecting pool story is becoming really entertaining. It's definitely become a metaphor for the crazed absurdity that is the Trump administration, that is Donald Trump, that is the MAGA community at this point. Whatever is left of that dysfunctional community, the sense of helplessness and desperation and pure unmitigated cult-like lunacy that the community perpetuates. The reflecting pool has become all that. The ridiculousness of the current state of the reflecting pool saga is something. So that we're going to talk about today. I'm also going to talk about the Iran deal, again, the Iran-U.S. negotiations. And thus far, Iran has gotten a lot, right? The U.S. has gotten absolutely, unequivocally nothing. And it's a much more serious version of what's happening at the reflecting pool. The reflecting pool is almost a metaphor in its absurdity and its stupidity. It's almost a metaphor for the insanity that is the real life dangerous insanity that is transpiring with the Iran negotiations, with the idiots in the Trump administration, with the potential infighting and the just all around stupidity. So before we go any further, I'm just going to bring up the live streams. And that'll take a moment. Okay, so YouTube, we've got you guys up. Let me bring up Twitch. Okay, Twitch looks good. And last but certainly not least, let's bring up Substack. Looks good. And last but certainly not least, let's bring up Substack. Okay, just want to make sure I don't get any feedback on Substack. Okay, so the reflecting pool. Where are we? I'm going to share some reflecting pool reporting with you, but I want to talk about it for a minute first. So if you haven't been following the reflecting pool saga, I don't. On the one hand, I don't blame you, and on the other hand, you're missing out on some real significant quality Trumpian entertainment. Hang on one second. I think I might have a sound problem here. Hang on, my friends. Let me just make sure I don't have any sound sort of bursting through. No, it looks good. Let me know if you guys are hearing. I'm getting some weird readings on some sound readings on my streaming software here. So just let me know if you're hearing an echo or anything. I don't think you should be, but something weird is, and I don't really know what it is. And I don't want to troubleshoot it with you guys here because, I don't want to, that's not entertaining. But let me know if there's any weirdness in the sound. I think I know what the problem is, but I don't want to mess with it unless the sound is problematic. Hey, Terry, thank you. Okay, so we're all set. So everything's good on Substack. Thank you. So if you haven't been following the reflecting pool saga, let me kind of summarize it for you, right? So the idiot decides he's going to beautify all of Washington, D.C., because only he can do it, because he's a builder and he's a genius. And it's really all he gives a shit about is pretending to be a builder, pretending to be a real estate magnate, just like he's pretending to be president. So, he likes gold. I think his severe mental illness and his ever increasing, evolving frontotemporal dementia, I think that is, causing that sort of that obsession with gold things and gold colors. to sort of kick in a little more significantly. And I think his pretend need to be somebody that matters, to be successful, to pretend to be successful, to pretend to be a genius, to pretend to be important, is kicking in exponentially. And I think that's part of what drives this this nutcase to have to destroy our national monuments in Washington, D.C., and to beautify them all, make them look fantastic and fabulous. It looks so great. So that's just what I think. So in an effort in this, to waste taxpayer dollars to make everything beautiful, or at least golden for him, so he can have his gold-colored shit and have the colors that he likes that make him feel important, he decided that part of it was the reflecting pool. Now, there's been an ongoing, generations-long issue with the reflecting pool with algae and with leaks and stuff like that. So Obama tried to fix it. It cost $34 million or something like that. That part's actually true. It didn't really work. The idiot should have known better. He should have, figured like if a brilliant man like Obama tried to fix it and failed, there's no chance that a simpleton like him could have ever even conceived the idea of pulling off a successful refurbish of the reflecting pool. But still, it happened. He hired this pool guy, and if you guys saw my post on socials, on my vertical socials about the weirdo who's the pool company guy, right, who worked on his pools at Mar-a-Lago or somewhere. I got a fantastic guy, I know. Fantastic guy. It was a no-bid contract the guy got, and it was the pool company and some other company that got $14.2 billion to repair the reflecting pool. So these idiots who obviously don't know what they're doing, and they had some sort of system. And it obviously wasn't a system it's some sort of system that uses some sort of bubbling. I don't know the tech at all. I really wasn't paying attention to the tech, but some sort of technology that's supposed to use some sort of bubbling system. If anybody knows what it is, put it in one of the chats and we'll talk about it a little more. But some sort of bubbling system, right? And this bubbling system was supposed to kill the algae. And at the same time, the goal was to, fix up the leaks in the reflecting pool. So they, but obviously they never did this, in anything like this, right? It's probably something that they did in pools at hotels, and maybe it was just the idiot's hotel. Maybe it was one hotel. Who knows, right? We can't get the whole story about that. So these idiots come in and they drain the reflecting pool and they paint it blue because the village idiot wanted it blue. So they paint it blue, and then they put the water back in and they fix the leaks. They seal the leaks. We don't really know. All we know is we saw a bunch of guys standing in the empty reflecting pool, putting blue shit down and painting it. And then the imbecile goes and, to show off and to show how important he is and how big his weenie is. The vehicles that are part of the presidential limo service all drive over the fucking reflecting pool right before they fill it back up, right? So they drive over the reflecting pool, and then they fill the reflecting pool up, and within days of filling it up, it's hot weather. The sun's beating down on the reflecting pool. Obviously, the system that these guys designed to get rid of the algae, the bubbling system, doesn't really work on a thing this big and this shallow and under these conditions, right? So we go from algae that always makes the reflecting pool look like a dark green to a zombie apocalyptic type movie lake of toxic sludge that makes it look a bright neon green, right? And then we all start making fun of the idiot because this is what we would expect him to do, right? This is the type of failure that is an expectation now when Donald Trump is involved with anything. He's incompetent, he's crazy, he's stupid. He hires incompetent, crazy people who cut corners or often just don't know what they're doing. He pays them excessive amounts of money for the work they're thoroughly unqualified to do, and they fail every time. And it doesn't matter if it's a war, effort, or if it's a cabinet member, or if it's a weird looking guy who looks like a reject from the Addams Family who's smoking a big cigar in a red smoking jacket or something, right? It doesn't matter if it's that character or a drunken Pete Hegseth. You're going to be surrounded with the most incompetent, incapable, stupid people that exist. I remember during the village idiot Donald Trump's first administration, Steve Schmidt, who was a Republican political operative for years before Donald Trump. He was the campaign manager for the John McCain campaign. And he's got kind of a he's got the gift of the gab in his own way, and he was on an MSNBC show at the time during the first administration with these bozos that the idiot was hiring, and he had said something along the lines of, if you went and hired the world's most sophisticated human resources consulting company, and they went all around the world and they made an effort to find the most egregious group of rapists, wife beaters, white collar criminals, and he just went off on this long list of what these kind of weirdos looked like during the first administration, which pales in comparison to this confederacy of dunces. But he kind of, he kind of shared that full, that full thought, and he basically said you couldn't achieve this with the world's greatest HR collection of HR people. They couldn't find this many dunces, but Trump can, right? Trump is capable, is more than capable, and he achieved that. He found this confederacy of dunces. Everyone is incompetent. So this incompetent fool, you got the algae, growing back into the reflecting pool, and then the geniuses from this brilliant company decide that they're going to kill the algae so they're going to pour hydrogen peroxide. They're going to flood the zone, right? They're going to flood the reflecting pool with hydrogen peroxide. So they pour all this hydrogen peroxide. We saw all these videos of gallons and gallon bottles of hydrogen peroxide being poured into the reflecting pool to kill the algae. Now, obviously, any of us could have done a ChatGPT search or a simple Google search, and we probably would have learned that hydrogen peroxide in large amounts can peel off paint, right? But this confederacy of dunces that is reactive and useless, doesn't know what they're doing, didn't think about that. So they pour all this shit in there, and it has the same effect. The paint starts peeling off. The media is covering it now. We are talking about it all the time. We're mocking and making fun of the village idiot Donald Trump. And then, because I spend time on X so that you don't have to, I start seeing the coordinated messaging, right? Even before the idiot made his announcement and surged, National Guard and local police to the best of his ability to the reflecting pool to supposedly guard it from vandals, right? Even before that messaging came out, the MAGA wackos on X were already starting to. Must have coordinated already, and they had already started pushing the narrative that vandals had done it. Wasn't this? This was a. I don't know where it started. I don't know if it started on X or it started on the White House, and the White House, the White House communications office went through the what is a process of trickle up attention, where they float a conspiracy theory or some sort of crazy shit to the nutcases on X, and then they start sort of messaging it together in a coordinated fashion. And we know that they're doing this because two reasons I know that they're doing this. One is, if you've watched Don Lemon's or any other major influencers' interviews with Ashley St. Clair, she was the former girlfriend. She's the baby mama to Elon Musk. She used to be a MAGA influencer, and she is now normal. She found her sanity because she couldn't tolerate being insane anymore, especially after she had a child. And she's going out and she's spilling the tea on how these MAGA operatives work on the internet. And she has made it clear that they have signal chats. They have the MAGA influencers on X are very, very well coordinated, and they're well coordinated with the White House itself, with the White House communications team. So there's every time that the White House wants to pull out some bullshit narrative to try to do a cleanup in aisle 6 after the idiot fucks things up, you'll often see the MAGA hordes on X begin that process before the idiot ever says anything. You'll often see them posting a very similar narrative or the exact same narrative. And I've seen in the Chorus program, because our folks, the good people in Chorus, have the tools to track this. We've actually seen, screenshots of fully coordinated efforts where, dozens of influencers on X right around the same time are literally just posting exactly the same shit. So, and don't get me wrong, it's effective. It actually really works, and they've been doing it for years. And here in the pro-democracy community, we are, we're not, well, one, we're not crazy. Two, we're not part of a cult. And three, we're not brainwashed. So but there is an effort even within those of us on the consistently fighting with each other left to begin coordinated messaging, because it works. It's effective. We've done it a couple of times ourselves, not to the extent and to the reach that the MAGA extremists and wackadoodles are, but we've certainly tried it. We've tested it out with some efforts. Our cohort right now in Chorus has upwards of, I think, like 160 million. That's the reach of our particular group. So we've done some coordinated messaging, and it does actually work. So it's not that the Republicans are wrong to do this. They're the ones who have taught us how to do it. But their behavior is so egregious, and the messages that they're pushing out are such lies and such propagandist, authoritarian bits of usually laughable, because it's so ridiculous bullshit. But it does get through to that echo chamber. It does. It works. It's working less and less and less now because people are waking up. But it does work. So even before the idiot started making the announcements publicly that it was vandals and all this other nonsense, and the dunces around him started making those arguments, and the MAGA senators and MAGA members of the House started making the argument. Even before that, I actually saw the surge taking shape on X. Then you had the idiot make the announcement, right? Followed, and Carolyn Levitt is now the next phase. She's out here, and kind of pushing this ridiculous narrative that it's not that they fucked up. It's that these vandals, the story has firmly kind of rooted itself now into this almost laughable, unintentional comedy, right? The story is now that Antifa vandals, or vandals in general, but Antifa vandals, who are big Democrat donors, who even donate to Act Blue, and they've convinced the MAGA community that Act Blue is some sort of egregious domestic terrorist organization. They don't, and your average MAGA uncle now probably doesn't realize that Act Blue is just the fundraising. It's just the tool that the coordinated tool that Democratic politicians, that the Democratic National Committee, that Democratic causes use to fundraise. It's in essence the built-in tool where they follow the law, unlike what the Republicans do, and it's just the fundraising platform that they use. But when they use the word Act Blue, they've tried to turn Act Blue into some sort of terrorist-like organization. So Antifa sort of controls Act Blue, and Act Blue is the place that's illegally, funding all of these, evil domestic terrorists. And so when the idiot now, or Carolyn Levitt, or some other whack job from the right is talking about how these vandals, these awful vandals, have these sick libtards. I think Benny, I can't think of his name. If somebody knows his name, he's the right wing wackadoodle who's big on X. Benny, whatever his name is. He was one of the first to post, even before the idiot started making his comments about it. That these crazy libtards hate our country so much that they would, they can't believe that they would go so far as to destroy the reflecting pool. They went in there and they did the destruction themselves. And somewhere on the lawn near the reflecting pool was 8647 again, right? And then within the reflecting pool, it was the vandals that were ripping up the paint. It wasn't the hydrogen peroxide that they poured into it, right? It was the vandals who are paid vandals from the Democrat Party who are working with Antifa, and they're all about donating to Act Blue, right? So that was the narrative, and then the village idiot picked up on it. And then when the idiot picks up on it, the problem that they have is he's so undisciplined, incapable, and so insecure about every message that comes out. He has to take a unbelievable message and then make it so ridiculous that the extremists, even in his community, have to really just stretch to buy into it, right? So at first he said that it wasn't just vandals, but then the vandals went and they cut. Somehow they cut a 250-foot long gash in the bottom of the reflecting pool, right? That within the same day, or was it 200-foot gash? Within the same day as the day advanced, and the idiot was Benny Johnson. Thank you, Beth. The same day that he talked about the 200-foot gash, in a subsequent speech a little bit later, or a discussion or a post or whatever, it was 250 feet. Then it became 300 feet later in the afternoon. Then it was 350 feet later in that day. I would be sure that we would get to 500 feet by today. I mean, we have to be able to achieve that, right? I mean, we have to achieve at least 500. It'll eventually be 1,000 feet. It'll just continue to evolve. He'll make the story wilder and crazier. Before, when they were getting in trouble for this fiasco, before they decided to blame it on Antifa and vandals, they compared it to Obama's efforts, which Obama tried, and they didn't succeed. They spent like 30 some odd million to fix it, and it didn't work that well. But it went from 30 million. Now the idiot is talking about now it's magically 100 million, right? So it's the same, it's the same crazy nonsense. Whenever the idiot gets a hold, they take crazy, unbelievable crazy, and then they extrapolate it up as a MAGA community. Then they hand it over to Shit for Brains, and then Shit for Brains turns it into something so absurd. I mean, it already starts at something so absurd, but he takes that absurdity and then he exacerbates it to the point, he exaggerates it to the point where it's not even science fiction anymore. It's it's stereotypical comedy now that wouldn't work in a sitcom, because it would have had to be in a sitcom back in like the 1950s when the Three Stooges and Abbott and Costello were big, because that's the only. It's like it borders on slapstick. It's so ridiculous. So that's where we are now. So let me show you some. I'm going to get to this one in a minute. Let me just see what I want to. So this I saw yesterday, and this really kind of like, I enjoyed this. Like when I saw this, it made me smile, because when they get to such a level of lunacy that it's beyond conspiratorial, it's QAnon level, but it may be even beyond QAnon level, that's when I think it has to get that crazy for it to be funny for me anymore. And this is where we've gotten to, right? You finally got there. I just saw this today, and it was posted like 12 hours ago, right? So John McAfee, I have no idea who John is. He has every right to. I don't know if he's a big MAGA influencer, if he's just some guy who posted this, but it was enough to capture my attention, right? This retweet of John McAfee's tweet by Juanita Broderick, right? So John McAfee tweets in all caps, FBI just raided an Antifa storage unit in DC and uncovered a full fucking chemical weapons lab, 6 different kinds of aggressive algae, 5 paint stripping peptides, and an ultrasonic grow lab ready to poison the city's 46 other pools and fountains. So this is it. I mean, this is where we are. And then Juanita wrote, "Holy shit, the left are fucking nuts." Now, I really think that this would have been not as funny, but still pretty funny if it would have been a parody post, right? If John McAfee's post would have been parody, right? Because that's how ridiculous it is. And if this, I'm sure it's an AI generated photo anyway. But if it would have been posted as parody, from a sane person, it would have been really amusing. But this is what they believe. This is real. This is where this crazy stuff goes. And then, they magnify this stuff. They make it into more than it is. And then people like Juanita, and I don't like to go after. If you notice, I don't go after the MAGA community that much. I try sometimes. I talk about them and with a bit of mockery, but I don't think that serves me all that well. I don't think it serves. I just don't think it's just not my style. I mean, sometimes I will when behavior is extraordinarily egregious, and I will say, and I certainly have, I'm sure there are plenty of receipts anyone could find if they go through my social media where I hammer the MAGA community. But generally, it's not what I do. I try to focus my criticisms and my mockery of the village idiot Donald Trump and the sycophantic morons around him and any idiots that the village idiot winds up hiring who fuck things up. So I try to focus my criticism there, but sometimes I think sometimes you just got to go there, right? And this absurdity is an example of needing to go there. So now we take it a step further, right? And the reporting from over the last couple of days is that, the last 2 days, is that, of course, the idiot who has no power, who has no leverage, who has he's creatively incapable of fighting his enemies in ways that might actually hurt them, right? I mean, he does hurt people, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying, like, he always has to dip into the well of the few things that he is mildly capable of understanding at this point with his advancing frontotemporal dementia. So he goes, when he wants revenge, he has to go to his top 4 or 5 hits, right? And one of them is, we're going to sue them for defamation. We're going to sue them for misinformation. So the idiot responds that he's going to sue ABC News for ABC News' reporting on the reflecting pool. Now, why not CNN? Why not NBC News? Why not the Midas? Why doesn't he ever go after Midas Touch, right? Why does it, Midas Touch has way more reach than any mainstream media outlet in terms of viewership, way more eyeballs on every story. Why doesn't he go after them? Because he knows he can't beat them. He knows they will fight him. He knows they will humiliate him further. He knows, I don't know if he knows that Ben Masalis is a lawyer himself, but he knows that they probably have a legal team and that they would relish the opportunity to depose him. And he knows that they would also be intolerant of his threats, and that whatever they could legally publish in the midst of a lawsuit, they would absolutely do so. And again, he knows that in a deposition, he would have to explain a lot of things that he wouldn't want to, and he knows that will probably never happen with people that he's already abused. corporate leaders that he's already abused at ABC News. You know, he knows they'll bend a knee, so he threatens them. He's a bully, and they are cowards for most of the time. So the bully will continue to go back and get cowards, and there's nothing else. There's nothing he can do, right? He can't. Yes, there have been a couple arrests at the reflecting pool for alleged vandalism or whatever it is. We'll see. I'm sure we'll be I'm sure you'll hear nothing else from the Trump administration about the 5 or 6 arrests that happened in DC. And I'm sure independent media outlets will, in the next few weeks, follow up on it. And we'll be finding out that the DOJ quickly dropped quickly dropped the charges, or if any charges actually make it to a judge, the judge will throw them out. And it is my only hope that any one of these people that were scapegoated by ICE, whoever supposedly arrested these guys, is my sincere hope that they use the same levers of the judicial system to sue the village idiot Donald Trump, to sue him personally, sue the Department of Justice. I really hope they do, and I really hope they win. I really look forward to that. If I were that type of attorney, I would absolutely be representing these people pro bono. But we'll see what happens with that. So anyway, let's read some of the reporting. That's enough of me babbling. Let's read a little bit of this reporting about the reflecting pool. I like their money. Trump threatens lawsuits against ABC for reporting on reflecting pool. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to sue broadcaster ABC for its reporting on the cost of repairing damage sustained by the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. Trump said the network had not reported costs incurred by previous administrations in maintaining the landmark. So the idiot, I guess, is upset because ABC News reported how much he wasted, and he's mad because they didn't report how much Obama spent or wasted on it, or anyone else. So, I mean, think about the toddler-like premise of this lawsuit. You told on that you didn't tell on them, but you told on me. I don't. I'm a big boy. I'm a little boy, and you don't tell. You told on me, but you didn't tell on them. And I'm really mad because you told on them. You told on me. You said it to them, and you said it's about me. You told on me, but you didn't tell on them, and I want you to tell on them. You're gonna get I'm gonna get all your money. I'm gonna get a lot. I like your money. And I'm gonna take your money. If you don't tell on that, you have to tell on them. Tell on them. It's not fair. It's fair to tell on them. Sorry about that, guys. In a post on Truth Social, the idiot claimed that ABC, quote, failed to report that their close friends, Democrats, Obama and Biden, spent over $100 million on the reflecting pool, and it never worked, end quote. Now, it was only Obama, and it was something like $34 million. And apparently it did not work. It was a waste of money. And as I said before, if the idiot wasn't as foolish as he is, and if he had any intellectual capacity left, he would have said to myself, I'm going to do the reflecting pool. I want to distract from other things. Barack Hussein Obama. He couldn't do it. He's a genius. I'm an idiot. I know I'm an idiot. I don't tell anyone, but I know I'm really dumb. And if Barack Hussein Obama couldn't do it, maybe I couldn't do it either. I'm very dumb. But of course, that's not how he thinks. Trump did not give any evidence for the $100 million claim, but prior reporting by PBS indicated that former President Obama's administration spent around $35 million on repairs for the monument. No major repairs to the pool are known to have been carried out during the Biden administration because there were none. The idiot also claimed that the damage to the monument has been caused by vandalism, but no evidence that the reflecting pool was intentionally damaged has been provided by the whack jobs in the White House. Please know I am editorializing as I am sharing this with you. CNBC was not calling him an idiot or a whack job. All of those are just my additions for entertainment purposes only. Trump claimed to reporters on Monday that a 350-foot slit was cut with a, quote, box cutter or a knife of some kind. NBC reported that at least 5 people have been arrested in connection with the vandalism. I'm sure we'll see all of that go away in the weeks to come. We are preparing lawsuits. We are preparing lawsuits against ABC, the false reporting. I like their money, which will be given to the U.S. Treasury, Trump added, also referencing $16 million that ABC paid the idiot to settle a defamation case that the idiot filed in 2024. The network paid $15 million, which was put toward the idiot's presidential library, and an additional $1 million in legal fees. And that is because ABC, you see what happens? The idiot isn't going after Midas Touch News Network, right? Because Midas Touch News Network stood up to them. Now, look, ABC is Disney, and Disney has stood up to the idiot in the past. And they won, right? So if Disney opts this time not to fold, which I can't imagine they will this time around, I think they'll fight. BBC is standing up to the idiot. The idiot is, I think, is suing BBC for what, $10 billion? And I think somebody fact check me and correct me, but I think that lawsuit's already been thrown out. I think, or it will be. So if ABC News, aka Disney, in my opinion, has any sense at this point, they will tell him to wipe his ass, with a rough paper that the lawsuit is printed on, and stand up for themselves. And I think because he's so politically done, I don't think that ABC will tolerate this. I don't know, but we'll see. Last week, ABC reported that the cost to repaint the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool had ballooned to more than $14.65 million. This exceeded the original estimated cost of the no-bid contract. We already talked about the no-bid contract that was not awarded by competitive tender by more than $4 million, according to federal contract data. The broadcaster also highlighted a $1.74 billion contract awarded to misspoke there, awarded to Green Water Solutions, an Ohio-based company, to install this is what I was talking about, a nano bubble system to kill algae using a similar no-bid process. It's not working. That's all I can say. It's not going to work. Unless they're going to build if the fucking thing didn't work, if the nano bubbler didn't work, and maybe it works in like a pool, like a hotel pool or wherever, but if it didn't work here, it's not going to work, right? And maybe the idiot and the idiot will have the repairs done to the damage that, the company, the further damage that the company created. The company should be charged for the damage as well. Donald Trump should be personally charged for the damage. The company should be charged for the damage. We should demand a refund for the $14.65 billion. And the $1.74 million, I'm sorry, $14 million, not $14 billion. I don't know why I keep doing that. The $1.74 million for the nano bubbler should be refunded because that doesn't work, at least not in a reflecting pool. Now, maybe if they're going to build a new version of it, maybe we're going to fund them to come up, continue to fund them a little bit of research and development. Maybe, we can give them a few more $1 million of U.S. taxpayer funds so they can now try to fix the idiot's problem by, somehow creating a new nano bubbler that works in reflecting pools, right? I don't know. But it's not going to work. It's not going to get any better. The latest action against ABC comes as the company faces 2 investigations from the Federal Communications Commission, led by the idiot's appointee, Brendan Carr, who was the psychopath in the FCC. The FCC also demanded that ABC submit early renewal applications for 8 of its local broadcasting licenses. That move came soon after comedian Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about First Lady Melania Trump and the U.S. president, calling for Kimmel's firing, so forth and so on. So this is where we are, guys. I don't even know what else to say about it. this is what and now I do know what to say about it. Actually, this is so this absurdity, right? This laughable absurdity, expensive, laughable absurdity. Because think about what you could do with $14.65 million, right? This absurdity is a metaphor for what is transpiring with these communications with the Iranians, with these ongoing negotiation, right? It's a reflection. Yeah, actually, Beth perfectly spoken. It's a reflection of this. The reflecting pool fiasco is an absolute reflection of this administration. But I think that it is. Hang on, where's my? Oh, I thought I had. Oh, here we go. There, that's what I went up. But I think it is a. I think let's look at where we stand right now, as of today, right? As of today, with the ongoing negotiations, for lack of a better word, with the Iranians, right? J.D. Vance, Howard Kushner, and Steve Witkoff are the brain trusts that are supposedly negotiating an end to a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran, right? Much of the time, the Iranians don't even show up, right? And that's been the deal with negotiations since the ceasefire started, right? That happened just this weekend, right? J.D. Vance was there. The Qataris ignored him. The Qataris ignored him, and yeah, you're good. You're good. The Qataris ignored him. I'm sorry, my son was just asking me a question, and they snubbed him, and the Iranians left negotiations. Right? They left negotiations because one, Israel was busy killing people in Lebanon again because it seems like they can't. The Israeli Minister of Defense seems to get off on that. Benjamin Netanyahu seems to have a bloodlust now. He needs it. He needs an active bloody war to maintain his political his political life, which may be his if his trial's ever allowed to continue, maybe his personal life in terms of his freedom. And it's just kind of what they do now, right? And there is an issue with Hezbollah, but we're so far beyond that with the murders of so many civilians. We're so far beyond that. It's straight up bloodlust, at this point. So because the Israelis were continuing to bomb Lebanon and kill Lebanese citizens, the first number one point in the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, that's the framework for these ceasefire negotiations, was all hostilities stop between Iran and the U.S. and between Israel and Hezbollah, or between Israel and Lebanon, or Hezbollah, them bombing citizens in Lebanon and the fighting between Hezbollah and Israel, and that the U.S. is responsible to make it stop. Well, that didn't happen, right? The Trump told Netanyahu to stop. Netanyahu didn't stop. So and then the idiot couldn't stop Netanyahu at that point, so he threatened the Iranians again, threatened to go and blow up their infrastructure again. So the Iranians walked out of the negotiations. They're like, fuck this, right? And we're fully at a point where the Iranians are the adults in the room. It's just the world we live in right now. It's not the world we're used to living in, but it is the world we live in because we have a toddler. When you have a toddler, when you have a sociopathic 79, 80-year-old toddler as your world leader who is a lunatic, an idiot, a wannabe authoritarian, and a severely mentally ill, malignant narcissist, and is losing his cognitive ability by the hour, then you're not the adult in the room anymore. And anyone affiliated with that madman is not the adult in the room anymore. I mean, the people negotiating you got J.D. Vance, who likes to jerk off on couches. You've got, I mean, obviously I'm just, being sarcastic, but not being sarcastic. You've got Howard, you've got Jared Kushner, who is just the idiot's son-in-law. That's all he is he's the idiot, the village idiot's son-in-law. And you have Steve Witkoff, who is the village idiot's crooked shyster real estate lawyer. Right? I mean, that's it. Those are the people negotiating for, so how do you take it seriously anyway? You know what I mean? And he's a maniac. So the Iranians don't take it seriously, as they shouldn't. I don't blame them. And they walked out. And, when I connect this back to the situation with the reflecting pool, right? Howard, the son-in-law, and the shyster lawyer, and the ass kisser, they're just, the unqualified company run by, a dipshit who looks like a reject from the Addams Family, who fucked up the reflecting pool, right? They're just them. And it just we're paying the bill, we're paying to fly them in and out. I mean, Kushner's not footing the bill. Witkoff isn't floating the bill. They're eating on our dime. They're being flown around on our dime. They have security on our dime. Millions and millions of dollars for these idiots to just be there, right? And the Iranians just leave, right? Because the negotiations are the reflecting pool, right? And they just keep fucking them up. They just keep pouring. Algae is growing all over the place. The Iranians are taking advantage of it. They're getting everything they want easily because they're dealing with buffoons. So they're able to say, oh, you got algae all over the place. You're just a fucking mess. I'll tell you what, we'll take a little bit of the algae out. We want everything. What do we want for that? We're not going to give you anything. But what do we want? We want, we want $12 billion released today. Okay. $12 billion gets released. We want to sell, we want to be able to export and import banking services. We want to be able to export our oil now. We want to be able to, basically have a full functioning economic infrastructure, operating robustly, immediately. Okay. And you took a little algae. We took a little algae out. You just give us this. Can I have something? No, you can't have anything. No. What you're getting is we're taking the algae out, Donald. Doesn't that feel better? It's fantastic. We need to rebuild. You need to let the world know that you're going to give us $300 billion to rebuild. Okay, $300 billion to rebuild. Again, what did the U.S. get? Nothing. Well, you better tell them. You better tell them, Vince. JD, I like to call them JD. You better tell them. I'm going to bomb the hell out of them if we don't get the uranium. We better get nuclear. We better get the nuclear. Okay, Mr. President. So comes over. He's like, we've given you all this stuff. We need the nuclear taken care of. Sure, we'll talk about that later. Okay, right. But while we're waiting to talk about it, we're going to go and we're going to meet with our friends in Oman. You guys stay the fuck away. You're not welcome here. You're too dumb, and we're in control. Now, we manage the Strait of Hormuz, and we're going to go and meet with our friends in Oman, and we're going to kind of solidify how we're going to manage the Strait of Hormuz, what toll we're going to charge, and you need to just shut the fuck up about it, okay? Fantastic. All right, but we got to discuss nuclear. We got to get nuclear. I want you've got nuclear. Yes, your nuclear's fine, Donald. Okay, wink, wink. Nuclear's fine. We'll talk about nuclear some other day, but we're busy today with Oman. Kind of straightening that out, and that is this whole thing. And while that's happening, all the idiot is capable of looking at is, gas prices have gone down. They're nowhere near back to where they were before the war, but they're not $4 a gallon anymore. They're not $4.65 a gallon. They're here in my area, they're $3.75. So the idiot is so delusional, he doesn't care what's going on in Switzerland with this. He's just, the oil prices are going down. It's fantastic. I got them down so far. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like, he's done. He's done with this. And, the next hard on I know he has is Cuba. And I shudder to think of what the fuck's going to happen with Cuba, next. And Iran will come out of this war. Unfortunately, with the reflecting pool, that's ours. So, chicken shit GOP senators and chicken shit GOP members of the House will just let him fuck up the reflecting pool for months and months and months now. They just are too afraid of him to do anything about it. Until we get Democrats elected to a majority in the House and the Senate, this is what things are going to look like in the reflecting pool. So the end result of that isn't catastrophic. It's just that the reflecting pool will stay shit until the idiot moves on, and then he'll just lie and tell us it's beautiful, and everybody will forget about it. And all the nuts, all of these nuts, well, that nut, and where are they at? Oh my goodness, where is this? And these nuts they'll be done with this and they'll move on. But in the Iran-U.S. negotiation situation, the reflecting pool is the ceasefire negotiations. It is Iran coming out being so much more powerful, as they already are, than they were before the war, right? It's not like we're just left with a shit reflecting pool that's going to cost us a fortune to fix once this imbecile's out of office, and that will be just a national embarrassment while he's here. It's not just that. It's not like we're just like in another instance where we're just left with a torn down fucking East Wing that's just sitting there, torn up, gone, and there's like, one arm of the White House has been ripped off and it's just a shithole sitting there. No. We're going to be, and we just have to deal with it until we're, just try not to look at it or whatever. No. There is an action on the other side of the world, and that is that the Iranians are coming out of this so much stronger. The media is underselling this as far as I'm concerned. They are so much stronger than they were before this. And I don't know why the media is afraid to say it. They're not just a little bit stronger. They are so much stronger. They're going to be getting whatever the final deal is, whether it's $1 or $2 million per boat. If it's $2 million and they split that with Oman, per boat per day at 100 boats a day, that's $100 million a day if they split the $2 million purse with Oman. They're getting $300 billion to rebuild their country. I'm sure they're not going to use all that money to rebuild the country. They're getting, they're on their way. The regime is going to further solidify itself because they are on their way to becoming probably one of the economic powerhouses in the Middle East with an extremist regime. This is not Saudi Arabia, right? Where the regime, it's still a theocracy, but there's a modernity to the thinking. This is some extremist religious thinking. And they're going to be a bigger threat to Israel. The stupidity of Netanyahu's choice on this. They're going to be a bigger threat to Israel than they ever were before because they are incentivized to build the nuclear weapon. Because now they're going to make this internal argument within their own community that the U.S. can come in and bomb them anytime. And the U.S. could just blow them up. And sure, we're going to be right back to where we were after the idiot pulled us out of the JCPOA deal, which was we during Obama's deal, the IAEA was monitoring, the International Atomic Energy Agency was monitoring Iran's development of a nuclear weapon. Now perhaps there will be monitoring going on, but I cannot believe that in secret the Iranians will not be developing a weapon. And they're going to be well funded to do it. And they're going to be able to fund Hezbollah. They're going to be able to fund the Houthis. They're going to be able to fund their own terrorist cells around the world because they're going to have a shit ton of money. And the economy, rightfully, thankfully for the Iranian people, will start to build. That's a good thing. But it's going to be a repressive regime that is in charge of all of that money. So how much of that is going to flow out to the people of Iran? So anyway, that's all I got. I guess my point is that I guess that if I were to summarize today's live, it's that this reflecting pool stupidity, which is laughable, is, as Beth said, a reflection of the administration. Subsequently, this Iran, what we're seeing happening in the Iran ceasefire negotiations, the peace deal, is exactly what we're seeing happening with the reflecting pool. It's just that the stakes are a lot higher and the consequences are much more extreme. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. Thank you for being here. Let me just check. I know it was a bit of a shorter live, but I'm trying to keep them a little shorter, a little bit tighter. If any of you were on the live yesterday when I bailed on you guys, I apologize for that as well. I had a contractor coming to the house because we needed some stuff done, and they just happened to show up right when I started the live, and I was like waiting for them all morning to show up, and then they show up like within 10 minutes after the live. So if I bailed on you guys, my my apologies for that. Anyway, let me just check the chats and then we'll wrap the live. Okay, so everything looks good. So anyway, guys, that's it for today. Please like and subscribe. Let's see if we can get up to, I want to, my goals are to get up to 650 free subscribers on Substack. They're really modest goals. I know we can do it. 65 paid on Substack. If you are, please like and subscribe on Substack. If you like this and it's meaningful to you, please consider either upgrading to a paid subscription or choosing a paid subscription. Right now we have 20% off paid subscriptions, so it's like $4 a month instead of $5. If you're with us on YouTube, please subscribe. On Twitch, please like and follow. 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 live at a time. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, Gail. I didn't have a chance to say hello to everybody because I was dialed in today, but Catherine, Ann, Beth, Patty Ann, Terry, Irish Aggie, Jordan, Karen, Terry, thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you guys. Okay, let me just wrap the live for now. I just have to go out one at a time. So we'll start with Twitch, or YouTube is first, actually. I'm closer to YouTube. So YouTube has left the building. Twitch, you're out. Thank you for being here, Twitch. Twitch has left the building, and Substack, I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Much love.